Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. Apologies for the delay in transmission. This is the 9 o'clock hour right here on Rapid TV, and we're moving right into the big conversation for today. Of course, we have spoken a bit about what we will now talk about, because this is one of the most one of the news that has crowded the social space mostly,
course, yeah.
especially because citizens are questioning what this means for us as a people. Presidential visits are often wrapped in ceremony, handshakes, photo ops, and diplomatic language, like we have seen in the last couple of days. But beneath that lies something far more consequential. Now, from colonial history to modern trade, finance, and diaspora relations, Nigeria and the UK have maintained a complex but significant partnership. Complex because we have history pre-1960, when we were colonized by the United States. Now, the United Kingdom is one of Nigeria's largest trading partners, biggest sources of foreign investment, and key destination for Nigerian diaspora. Strong ties in finance, in education, in oil and gas, development support. Now, when a sitting Nigerian president travels to the United Kingdom, of course, this hasn't happened in the last 40 years. The real question is not where he went, but what Nigeria stands to gain economically, strategically, and diplomatically. At a time when Nigeria is grappling with currency pressures, investment gaps, and fiscal constraints, engagements like this raise an important question. Are these visits translating into tangible economic outcome, or are they largely symbolic? Now, these are the questions a lot of Nigerians have come out to ask as a result of the visit of the president. Now, the president has embarked on quite a number of visits from 2025 up until 2026, March 2026. And of course, some of these travels, diplomatic travels, as we'd like to call them this morning, is supposed to bring some level of economic ease to Nigeria, as the president had implied during some of these visits. But the most recent is that of the United Kingdom. We have seen Nigerians in diaspora excited about the president's visit. Some citizens in diaspora have also been able to point out some of the issues that they are grappling with, and some of the issues that we grapple with at home. But today we're going to be having a conversation, and on this conversation we'll be exploring what this means for us as Nigerians. What is the implication of this UK-Nigeria relation that we see? And to help us with that today, we have a Musa Weme. Okay, pardon my pronunciation, Mufasa, and he's a public affairs analyst. Thank you so much, Mufasa, for joining us this morning.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. I don't know if you can hear me clearly.
Of course, yes, clearly we can.
Okay, it's Musa Weme.
Okay, Weme. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that.
Just call Mufasa.
All right, Mufasa, it is then. All right, Mufasa, let's get right into the conversation. What do you make of the recent visit of the president of the United States, of Nigeria, to the UK? Yeah.
Of course, amidst the glees and the glamour and the razzmatazz, that accompany the president's visit. But then again, for me, I think, in as much as it's not out of place for the president to embark on a state visit, but there are most Nigerians who still believe that, with all the whole issues that surrounds insecurity, Nigerians being killed and all of that, that perhaps the president, would have rescheduled the visit, for another time, just to be sensitive and be empathetic to those who have lost their lives and their families and all of that. But it is what it is, and, it cannot be changed. It's there already, and they also hope that it comes back, safe and in record time.
Okay.
That's all I have to say pertaining that visit.
All right.
I've got some of the reasons the president did make for this visit. Of course, trade talks, investment talk, as it is. And whilst it's been there right now, we've seen that about £746 million UK-backed financing deal has been announced for the modernization of Nigeria's ports. Basically, that's around 746 million pounds. That is what has been announced, as one of the deal that has been backed. Again, it's for the modernization of Nigeria's ports. Right, how transformative is this for Nigeria's maritime economy and global trade competitiveness?
This is not the first time of a truth that we've been having this kind of engagements as a country, and ordinarily Nigerians would have been expecting that most of these things that you just reeled out, come to fruition, okay? But let us also still query, the ports, system in this country. To the best of my knowledge, I'm aware that we have war reports.
Yeah.
We have Port Harcourt and Onne. We have Tinkan Island, in Apapa, in Lagos. And,
that's right.
We should have, but I don't really know why in all of these I just mentioned, it's just the one in Lagos that is working, fully operational. I don't know why the rest, war reports is more or less like, a relic of the old order. Nothing is working there. Port Harcourt ports, the same thing. So modernization, are we still going to concentrate more on the Lagos ports? Because already people are finding it very difficult because of how congested that port is. Almost everything that comes into this country, comes through the either Tinkan Island or Apapa port. So are we also going to look at, decentralizing, expanding, so that if it's possible to revive those ones that have been moribund, so that whatever technology that they claim they want to bring into the port system can also be applicable to the ones in Port Harcourt, in Warri, and all of that. So these are just policies that we hear that they go to, discuss on behalf of the country, and at the end of the day, we don't really see much, being achieved in that regard. Yeah. I think the first thing first is to see how to decentralize, see how to, reactivate those ports that have been moribund. I see no reason why, these ports are not working, and we are going to discuss, bringing modern technology to the ports and all of that. So giving the impression that, all is well. Yeah. I don't think all is well. Most of the times when our leaders, when they go outside the shores of this country, they paint a picture as though even the people you went to see, they don't even know what is going on in the country. So we need to be more sincere. We need to be more honest, so that it doesn't seem as though it's a wasted effort. That's why I see it. Because if you go and begin to have some of these discussions, and we don't see anything being put on the ground, it appears to be a mission in futility. Right. So that is just my own thinking. Is it going to be just in Lagos? Are we going back to, back to that one sole proprietorship kind of arrangement where everything that comes to this country comes through, the Lagos port and all of that. So let us also have a discussion that centers around how to reactivate the Warri ports, the one in Port Harcourt and the one in Onne. So that is when we now know that the government is serious in having a serious significant impact in what comes into our country through our waterways.
All right, Mufasa. Okay, thank you so much for that. I want to ask, now, since the president's inauguration, he has embarked on at least 25 trips outside Nigeria, Brazil. He went to St. Lucia. He went to France. He is in the UK right now for a visit, right? Now, according to reports also, since October 2025 till date, he has embarked on about 11 of those trips. Yeah. Now, do you think that bilateral visits like this can realistically increase the, how do I call it, can realistically increase foreign direct investment?
ordinarily and ideally, these things, would signal some of the needed economic potentials and viability of the nation. And mind you, everything about world economy and politics is transactional. The United Kingdom is not a Father Christmas. It's not as if you are going there to get and collect. They would also have discussions on what they will also benefit from you. So what are we giving as a nation? Now we are battling with insecurity, and the adverse effect of insecurity. Insecurity affects virtually all facets of human endeavor. You can't do business in a society on an atmosphere that everybody's in disarray. There's no gainsaying the level and manner of insecurity in this country. So in as much as we are hoping to see a situation where these visits will bring significant progress to this country, but we spend so much money traveling out of the country. The president does not travel alone. He travels with a retinue of aides and all of that. And the nation is meant to pay for all of these trips.
Yeah.
But like you ask, and most Nigerians will ask, what is the essence? If the president has traveled almost more than 20 times and we are not seeing any significant improvement in the economy, in security, in power, in energy, and all of that. So, a better question. So why then do you have to travel? Why not just sit down in your country, allow your ambassadors, do most of the diplomatic engagements, and you think of how to get us out of the woods. Because honestly, I don't know about some other persons. Honestly, like myself, I've not noticed any significant change. In all of what we do in this country since this president started this journeys across Europe and America. So
all right,
that
Mufasa.
is the thing. Yeah.
All right, Mufasa, just a follow-up to that question. Now, we know that the British colonial rule lasted from about 1861 to 1960, and it was primarily driven by the need for cheap raw materials. It was basically, there are certain areas of exploitation the UK had on Nigeria during the colonial era. We're talking about agricultural cash crop, extraction, palm oil kernels, cocoa and granite, cotton and butter. And when you were making your point during the, when you were answering the last question, you made mention of the fact that the UK would not give anything for free. It is a transactional relationship. Do you think that we are mature enough at this time to go into talks with the UK in relation to our natural resources as well, looking at our trajectory with the United Kingdom, the colonial era, everything that has transpired between Nigeria and the UK during that colonial era, and as I've read out to you some of the areas of exploitation? Do you think we are now more grounded to have better negotiations, or this is another case of handing ourselves over to the colonial masters, as have been the implication by lots of Nigerians seeing what is on the table as per discussion during this visit?
Well, I want to thank you for that very intelligent question. You see, since independence till this moment, Nigeria has been on a slippery slope, sadly so, because whether we are matured enough, for me, that is not even what we should be talking about. We've got independence for, it's almost over 50-something years or thereabout, and we are supposed to be standing shoulder to shoulder with the United Kingdom, okay? We have the resources, we have the best brains, we have minerals. So the only thing we are lacking in this country is leadership. And it's as a result of failure of leadership, that is why we have become perpetual infants in the eyes of some of these, world players. It's not as if they don't know that we have what it takes as a nation, but they also understand that there has been consistent, lack of proper leadership. And like I said before, the United Kingdom, even though they were our colonial masters, they are not Father Christmas, like you rightly pointed out, they've been exploiting us. And they are still exploiting us. Let us not shy away from that fact. They are still getting a lot of things from us. And we are not even getting what we should get from them that is commensurate with what they are getting from it. It is transactional. It is meant to be a constant, negotiation, constant dialoguing as society advances, as technology advances. There is a need to constantly come to the table and begin to discuss way forward. What is in it? What is in need for us? What do we stand to benefit as you are getting so and so from us? Are we going to get technology? Is it in the aspect of security? So, but we are not having this kind of discussions. Rather, we go there to spend money for healthcare. We go there we send our kids there for school, and they know. You understand what I'm saying? So these are some of the things that we are not having the proper discussions with these people. It's not as if we are not ripe enough. It's not as if we are not matured enough to stand shoulder to shoulder with them. There's so many countries in Africa today that that are doing well. A couple of like some of them, like South Africa, for instance. When did they get their independence? Nigeria is a country that we cannot even boast of constant power supply. It's not as if we don't have what it takes, but because of the kind of leadership that we've had over the years, over the time, we've not been able to harness some of these potentials, some of these mineral natural resources that we have. And, you won't begin to blame the West for taking advantage of these things because of what they stand to benefit. Like, of course, I don't know, let me not use allegation, but it is in public domain that, they are mining gold in the north, some part of the north. They are mining gold and other solid minerals over there. And these people embarking on these things. These are foreigners. These are foreigners. They come into our country, they do what they like with some set of people, and they get away with it. So if we are properly harnessed, we are properly decided as a nation, so let us utilize what we have to equally have a place, in the pecking order of things in the world, stage. I'm sure they will give us our position because they know that these people, they are ready to take it. But the moment you keep playing the infants, running to them for help, for money, for loans and all of that, going for Medicare and all, we are always begging. We have become a beggarly country, and it's unfortunate. From 1960 till date, in fact, it was even better, in the early 70s, in the early 80s, even though it was a military, we had more of the military that, come and go. But if you ask, and if you go down memory lane, read history, you discover that it was a bit better then, even when the society was operating on an analog system. Now in fact, everywhere technology has taken over the entire space. And we are still struggling as a nation to survive. It's unfortunate. But
All right.
I believe that with the growing awareness, people are beginning to talk more. People are beginning to ask accountability from the leaders. I'm sure that things will gradually change. But what we have now, is a complete far cry. And it's quite unfortunate.
All right, let's talk about migration even a little bit, because in recent times, both Nigeria and the UK, they've had agreements around visa policies and also the return of illegal migrants that are staying, of course, in the UK. Returning them back to Nigeria as it is. That's on one part. And as well, whilst the president is still in the UK, he's also meeting with business owners in the diaspora. I mean, Nigerian business owners in the diaspora. And of course, they recall that business owners, in the diaspora actually remit quite a number of money to Nigeria, over billions of naira, in Nigeria every single year. Now, do you think that this particular visit is going to help strengthen the visa policies, to ensure that Nigerians in diaspora can actually have a level playing ground in the diaspora, especially in the UK, since the president is currently in the United Kingdom?
Now, you see, I think it's quite shameful that we'll be having to, see how to give Nigerians in diaspora, maybe a better society to stay there, to give them that leeway, giving them that assurance that they are living in Europe and America, that they don't have to fear of deportation and all of that. The question we've not really addressed, the issue not addressed, is why do we have this mass migration? Why do Nigerians want to even run away? Not even leave, because the Nigerians are running away. You only run away from where you don't get comfort, You don't run away from where things are working. You run away from where things are not working. And that is what it is today. You see what I'm saying? If we are making things right, if we are trying to make this Nigeria a better place, do you think we'll be having to discuss, Nigerians in diaspora, they are being killed, xenophobia and all of that? So I think we are not even having that deep introspection. And secondly, have you asked, why do business people no longer feel safe in this country? Would anybody want to, have a business in a society where, criminal elements, terrorists, and a bunch of social misfits are kidnapping people, killing people here and there? With the kind of news that they hear about this country, do you think anybody wants to, come into this country to do business? And we have a president that would want to discuss with Nigeria in diaspora. What kind of discussions you want to have with them?
All right, Mufasa.
To tell them that the country is not safe, that they should come and begin to do business. These are some of the things that we should ask ourselves.
But they said it themselves. They were the ones in the video saying that they want the country, they want a situation where jackpot that will happen. That's reverse jackpot, where people who have gone out of Nigeria will be back to Nigeria, because they believe that the president can fix up whatever is going on in the country. But from your conversation, it's looking as if this visit is not about negotiating a partnership. It's more about managing dependence, because from what we have said, we want to have a better bilateral agreement between the United States and the United Kingdom and Nigeria. We have had restrictions. In fact, I would say that they have treated us poorly in the last couple of weeks with some of the restrictions that they have put on the visas that Nigerians have access to. However, let's do a bit of linking between the Nigerian government, this visit to the UK now, and the operations of the Nigerian government. Now, just as we think that we depend on these other foreign countries for some level of relevance, or we're depending on them for one thing or another, it's the same thing we are gradually seeing, that the government is now shifting to a point where there's now dependence on individuals to also carry out projects that the government is supposed to carry out. For instance, recently we saw that Burna Boy in River State was constructing a road. I think, how many kilometers of road was he constructing?
I'm not so certain, but the budget is around $35 million.
For an individual?
For an individual, constructing a road to his community, and also rebuilding government schools in the community. Do you recall the video that went viral about a teacher who actually came out to say that this school in this particular community is totally dilapidated, and of course the allegation that the local government chairman actually sent thugs to beat up that young girl. That actually led to Burna Boy interfering in that particular matter, went to see the River State governor, asked for an approval and permission, which the River State governor did give to him at this point in time, and of course now he's spending about $35 million in that construction.
So I'm not entirely against, private institutions or individuals taking up some of these projects, but this says a lot about our level of dependence. Like, we depend on other foreign countries, we depend on individuals to carry out projects that are supposed to be carried out by the government. So my question to you now, Mufasa, would be, what is the implication of things like this to the Nigerian system, to our independence, and to the running of our government within Nigeria?
As much as I would want to commend the music maestro, Burna Boy, for taking a bold step to intervene in that regard. I would also want to point out that, apart from this big project that Burna Boy is taking upon himself, a large majority of Nigerians will provide everything for ourselves. It could be on a small scale, because it's where you provide security for yourself, because when in the estate or the neighborhood where you live, you pay for security fee. You provide water for yourself. You provide electricity for yourself. So what is the government doing for you? So that's Burna Boy today has decided, just because of the alarm that the young lady, I think Winnie is her name, about the dilapidated state of the school and the community. That was what drew the attention of the global community, and how she was treated, Apart from that, Nigerians have been providing certain essential services for themselves. These are things that ordinarily should be the responsibility of government, because government should understand that they are responsible to the people for a lot of things, security-wise, infrastructure-wise, because the people pay taxes. But it's where we are the ones who, provide power for ourselves, we provide security for ourselves, we provide water, we provide. So what else is the government doing for us? In as much as, at least I'm aware that nation building requires collective responsibilities. But then again, there are certain responsibilities that are solely meant for government.
Of course.
For instance, that Burna Boy is constructing a road in his community today, and in a school. Would Burna Boy also construct other roads? Because I'm sure that's not the only school that is in that state, in that community.
No.
I'm sure that is not the only road that is in that state, in that locality. So let us also continue to call on governments to be alive to their responsibility. I'm aware that there are counterpart funding meant for repairs of schools through the UBE and all of that.
Yeah.
And these monies are budgeted for. So where are these monies? Where are they going to? Let us also query some of these things, because Nigerians, most times, we have this weak, forgetful spirit where after one thing happens, another thing comes in, and the last one that happened will just be allowed to slide. It doesn't matter the gravity of that particular issue. We just allow things to slip away like that without requesting and asking for accountability and consequences. So like I've said before, I want to commend Burna Boy, because for me, that's a very bold step.
All right.
When a school is in that state, I wonder the kind of products you expect to get from that kind of environment. So government shouldn't wait until somebody raises an alarm and the person is beaten up by an irresponsible public officer and all of that, and before you now begin to see some of these things. Society shouldn't be run like that.
Not at all.
Continue like that will not make significant progress.
All right. Thank you so much, Mufasa, for joining us on the conversation this morning. Definitely a delight to have you here.
Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to be on the show.
All right. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too. Have a nice day.
All right.
It's quite worrisome. Just like you stated, it's not completely new for private individuals or institutions also to carry out some of this project, right? Because we see that some of these organizations carry out this project based on the corporate social responsibility that they have for the people.
Absolutely.
Right? But however, we've now seen that there's a gradual switch. The government trying to allow these individuals to carry out this project other than doing this project to themselves. The Constitution clearly states, of course, that infrastructural development in a state and community is the sole responsibility of the government, not the individual. And so while we have individuals carrying out these CSR, I mean the corporate social responsibilities, it shouldn't not be a leeway for the government to relax and
relax. That's the issue.
To do that. $35 million from a private pocket. It's a lot of money. He's not doing a business in that community. He's doing it from the place of, this is a concern.
Is my
this is his community as well.
This is my community.
But of course, there's a government there. There is the local government chairman. There's a councillor, and of course, there is the state governor in that particular state.
Do you not see the pattern of operation where when someone speaks up, rather than investigate the matter and actually proffer solution, there is antagonism, there is bullying, and there's oppression. It's the same thing with the story we talked about earlier this morning. You know, someone talking about the fact that these buses, you guys display these buses all the time to say that, oh, the government have provided buses for the citizens, they can go to work. And the reason, again, we recounted that the reason people follow these BRT buses is not because they don't have money. It's because of the traffic situation in Lagos State. BRT has a separate lane, so they most likely beat all of the traffic in Lagos. And because you just want to beat the traffic, you spend hours and hours at the bus stop just because you need cars. She complained the first time. 2 days later, they were provided with buses. 2 days after, the buses were off. And there have been speculations that these buses have been given to private individuals to run businesses as individuals when they are provided by the government to ease the life of the people. So, you see, there's a silent shift of responsibility where the government is gradually handing over its responsibility to citizens. When it comes to healthcare system, you see private individuals and organizations doing what they can to ensure that people stay healthy. They are the ones who advocate for immunization. They are the ones who advocate to make sure that, you know, fast vaccination. They are the ones who advocate for literally everything. Remember the last time when we were talking about, not the last time, I think it was sometime last year, when we were having a conversation about the security situation here in Nigeria, where the Chief of Defense Staff had said that Nigerians are charged with the responsibility to protect themselves. Now,
that charge also came this morning.
Again, yes, we read that out.
Where he was charging residents in Maiduguri to actually be part of the fight against insecurity.
Part of it sounds better. When you say be part of the fight against insecurity, it sounds better. It means I'll do my part, you also do your part, and then we'll have a smooth sail, right? But when you say the responsibility of protecting yourself depends on you as individuals, that is absolutely false, because again, the Constitution says the primary responsibility of every government is to protect lives and property of every citizen within the country, rich or poor, young or old, whatever societal structure exists within your country. Everybody deserves to be covered by the protection of the government. But time and again, the government has failed in these responsibilities. And now, the extension of this is what we see happen in our bilateral relationships. It is more like we are trying to manage the dependence we have between ourselves and other countries. Yes, Nigeria has all the natural resources and whatever it takes to be world power, if you ask me. We have it within our soil, in our country. But when we go to the table of negotiations with this country, how do we go to the table? Do we go for, because when you go from a point of need, you will always be the one who is at the receiving end of whatever disadvantage happens on that table where you have that conversation. So how do we go to negotiate for these things in other countries? We can go there, have all the natural resources, but negotiate from a disadvantaged position. So it's important that we know these things, and it's important that before this visit, the government clearly maps out what kind of partnership it wants to do with the government of whatever country they visit, and there should be strict memorandum of understanding, rules of engagement, just so that each party know what their deliverables are and what they bring to the table that is beneficial to each party.
Now, talking about deliverables as well and negotiation, why Mufasa was talking about when he was talking earlier on, the 74 million pounds that was signed, in the port system, specifically was for the Apapa port and of course the Tinkan port, and these port stations, are all based in Lagos State. What happens? Just like he asked, what happens to
the other ones?
What happens to the Warri port, basically? Now, if these are the places where you want to put this investment alone, what message are you then passing across to the people? It then shows that just like we see in the energy sector, just like we see in the oil and gas sector, rehabilitation of the moribund refineries is a big time problem. The same thing with the port authorities, right? We only have 2 that are functional in our country, Nigeria. And how do you expect that by the time you're done modernizing these two, I mean that the weight of export and import as well would not have to be on just these two port systems, port stations as it is. How do you ensure that these both can actually carry all of the weight? It becomes very much very much difficult, almost impossible for these things to happen because that decentralization, we've not seen it happen. Again, we've seen it just like we've seen in the oil and gas sector. I mean, the government-owned refineries, they're just there on the moribund level. The same thing we're seeing right now happening. Money has not, they've signed a deal. It's a good amount of money, no doubt about it. But of course, it has to be more. Going back to Burna Boy conversation, now he has carried out that responsibility. In fact, I saw a picture of him, I think sometime yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, while he was driving down to the community, his car was stopped, and he was trying to get himself away from there. But the question I ask again is, now a private individual is doing this particular job. Construction is what it's going to do. Who is then charged with the responsibility of maintenance?
Let's even have it first, Victor. When we have it...
No, we're going to have it from a private individual.
When we have it, maintenance can now be a conversation.
Yeah.
Look at how the government infrastructure is managed.
Yeah.
It's just recent, sometimes, maybe a few years back, that the Ministry of Finance, the Federal Secretariat, all of these places were renovated and what. And till date, the last time I had a conversation, the restrooms are absolute trash. So the maintenance culture here in Nigeria is a whole different conversation on its own. Let's even have the infrastructure. Then we can talk about maintenance. But you don't have the infrastructure. You don't have maintenance culture. You don't have anything at all. So what
sustainability is
a problem.
Impact, all of this.
Exactly. Right. So let there, like you said, let there also be sustainability structures put in place for whatever infrastructure that will be built by Burna Boy. But I think it's risky to continue to leave projects that the government is responsible for. Look at the amount of money that will be expanded on this project for individuals to carry out. However, I think this is where we'll draw the curtain this morning on this conversation. It's been an amazing time here in the studio this morning, and I hope that you've been having a fantastic holiday so far. I mean, it's just 9 something, which means the day is starting. It's still young. Just to remind you, we are active across social media platforms on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, and on X, formerly Twitter. It is at Rappi TV. On YouTube, at official Rappi TV. Our website, www.rbnradiotv.com, allows you to connect with us anywhere in the world. It's the holiday season. Your tab, your phones can get you connected to the amazing programs we have lined up here for you today. My name is Martha Alu.
And of course, my name is Victor. Okay, we'll see you tomorrow. Of course, enjoy your holiday.